Hello there and welcome. This is Agenda 2030, a program designed to capture and critically examine Nigeria's efforts towards the attainment of the SDGs. I am Toyin Kamyang John. Stay with us.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
This week, heads of governments and global leaders gathered at the United Nations headquarters in New York for the annual General Assembly. This year's event is the 73rd session, and it's also known as the UNGA73. The leaders took turns to brief the summit on developments around their countries, while policies and programs of the global organizations were also reviewed. Of particular importance at the General Assembly was the celebration of the third anniversary since the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals. On this week's episode, we will be serving you with some of the highlights from the high-level meeting at the United Nations General Assembly. Do stay with us.
My name is Lawrence Chidi Anokam. I'm the Director General of the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency, NESRA. I support Agenda 2030. I implore everybody to keep on watching the program and also support the implementation of SDGs in Nigeria.
The 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly opened on the 18th of September 2018. The first day of the high-level general debate was on Tuesday, 25th September 2018, and is scheduled to last for 9 working days. According to Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garces, President-elect of the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly, the theme of the general debate is making the United Nations relevant to all people, global leadership, and shared responsibilities for peaceful, equitable, and sustainable societies. Thanks for staying with us. As the quest to attain the Sustainable Development Goals continues to gain traction in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated his resolve to deploy the SDGs to the development interest of all Nigerians. We bring you the President's message to the United Nations in commemoration of the third anniversary of the adoption of the SDGs. Do enjoy it.
It is my honor to address you today on the Global Day to act for the SDGs. On the 25th of September 2015, Member States of the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and agreed to the implementation of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The SDGs provide us with an opportunity to work together to give present and future generations a world without poverty, hunger, and inequalities, and a planet which can sustain lives and ensure prosperity for all. On this anniversary of the adoption of the SDGs, I want to reiterate our commitment to working for a prosperous, peaceful, and sustainable world, ensuring that no woman, man, girl, or boy is left behind. As we mark this 2018 Global Day of Action for the SDGs, I want to join the United Nations SDG Action Campaign to call on every citizen, stakeholder, and partner including civil society organizations, development partners, the private and public sectors, media and academia, to commit to achieving the historic 2030 agenda and the sustainable development goals. As a committed member of the Committee of Nations, the Federal Republic of Nigeria will continue to work with multi-stakeholders, including the United Nations system, civil society, development partners, private sector, and the academia in the implementation of the SDGs. We are faithfully committed to our country transition strategy and the economic recovery and growth plan, both of which are guiding our national efforts.
Since it was adopted, Nigeria has been charting a pathway for the implementation of the goals. Take a look at this summarized report on the implementation efforts by Nigeria.
The adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs in September 2015 was a watershed in global efforts to eradicate poverty, reduce inequalities, and protect the environment from degradation. The Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari was among the world leaders who signed up for the adoption of the agenda.
Our government has taken the firm view that the implementation of the SDGs agenda has and will have decisive implications for Nigeria's development, which explains why the SDGs occupy a prominent place in our economic recovery and growth plan, which the President launched in April to guide Nigeria along the path of inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Progress on the goals will have a positive effect on our poverty and unemployment numbers. It will reduce the number of mothers who die during childbirth and our children who are unable to mark their 5th birthdays. And of course the figures also on out-of-school children. It will empower our girls and women and bridge the gender inequality gap. Success with the implementation of the SDGs will have an impact on our cities and on the quality of the lives of those who live within them.
In apparent demonstration of her commitment, the Nigerian government has since embarked on a process for defining a clear pathway towards the achievement of the goals. First, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs was established with Princess Adejoke Orolokwe Adefulire as the coordinator of the agenda. A Presidential Council for the SDGs was inaugurated by the President to provide high-level policy guidance and leadership, as well as direction on the implementation, while 2 standing committees on the SDGs were also established in the Senate and House of Representatives of the Parliament to enhance legislative engagements. Active steps have been taken to mainstream the 2030 agenda into national, state, and sectorial policies, development plans and budget as against embarking on standalone projects which lack sustainable characters. Work has also commenced on SDGs needs assessment, policy and scenario analysis, as well as tracking and reporting. Indicators have been developed and the SDGs baseline survey has been finalized to address the lack of accurate and reliable data for planning and tracking performance across the 3 tiers of government. Nigeria has also strengthened the national awareness around the goals, while strong commitment has been made towards effective collaborations with all stakeholders. The government has also set up the private sector advisory group and the Donors Partnership Forum with the civil society organizations recognized as key partners.
In Nigeria,
Social investments is a key pillar of our economic recovery and growth plan. There is no way of fighting poverty and its many causes and implications without social safety nets in one form or the other. It explains why we believe that eradicating corruption is central to eradicating extreme poverty. We cannot allow theft of public resources and speak of sustainable development.
The work of the Donor Partnership Forum on Sustainable Development being inaugurated today will make this effort to scale. This will enhance efficiency of resources, curb project duplication, and foster aid effectiveness. This forum will encourage policy coherence with the attendant alignment of donors' intervention with government medium and long-term development plan.
The 2030 Agenda commits all countries and stakeholders to work together to promote sustained and inclusive economic growth, social development, environmental protection, rule of law and justice, while leaving no one behind.
As part of its efforts to prevent the drawbacks found with the implementation of the Millennium Development Goals, the government mobilized 400 core members across the country as SDGs champion to take the campaign on implementation of SDGs to the grassroots in various parts of the country. Also, 13 frontline celebrities have been enlisted as SDGs ambassadors to help communicate the messages of Agenda 2030, generate momentum and citizens' commitment for the achievement of the SDGs in Nigeria, raise awareness on all the goals with a view to enhancing actions by key players to attaining the SDGs. Beyond the very robust institutional arrangement for implementation, Nigeria is driving the SDGs with innovation as evident with the recent launch of smart classrooms in collaboration with global digital giant NetDragon Websoft. Nigeria has also put in place mechanisms for identifying and targeting the poor with pro-poor and pro-development programs undertaken in the quest to bequeath to the people a desired future in which no one is left behind. And for President Muhammadu Buhari, the message is simple.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Like we told you earlier, action for the SDGs was one of the major highlights of the UNGA. Let's see how the United Nations Action Campaign galvanized the global actors for the SDGs at the summit.
Over 500 people are gathering together to talk about the SDGs and see how they can foster concrete action on the ground. People from the private sector, people, young entrepreneurs, social innovators, they're all there here in Amsterdam to see what's happening. As you see in the video, they're walking in right now, a few hours ago, and at the moment they're about to close the event. They're talking about what can young entrepreneurs do to really concretely foster the SDGs. And all of that in an innovative setting. This happened today, but the SDG Charter is actually working year-round on how to move concrete actions and how to make an impact in Amsterdam, in Eindhoven, in Rotterdam, basically all over the Netherlands.
As you know, the climate change is a quite terrible situation, and many young people in the Maldives is really worried about their future because their garden or their park or their house is now sinking. So that's why we are trying to do something together with the young people in the Maldives. The organization name is the JCI, and together and nearly 100 people, young people, together with a beach cleaning we did. Beach cleaning is very simple, but at the same time, as you know, now our ocean is really suffered by plastic, as you know. So, and this action is, of course, one of the action is very small, but at the same time, we can make this kind of action to all over the world. So, and now I think we really need a kind of the very concrete visual action to change That's our direction of our, let's say, civilization. So what is that? That is an eco future.
Mexico has been leading lots of activities. We actually, since last year, we established a national SDG action week. So we're focusing on telling people about the targets. We're focusing on advocacy. We're focusing on leading youth consultation. We had just 22 for the last week. We had beach cleanups. We had volunteering activities. We had discussions with the governments, especially local governments, and we're basically doing absolutely everything we can. We separated the week into several different subjects, for example. We commemorated the International Day of Peace on the 21st. We participated in the People's Global Summit. We participated in writing stories about different women in Mexico who are leading different actions in favor of the SDGs. So we're basically doing lots of things with around 700 volunteers across the country who were able to lead so far more than 150 actions. And today we're promoting the Modern World Survey. So we're doing a wonderful job there. Thank you.
Fantastic. I was once talking to Mitchell, the director, and he said a lot of the solutions that are going to be derived when it comes to the SDGs are going to have an African accent, that the future of the SDGs might have an African accent. And when you look at the map, this is so true. If you look at countries like Nigeria, it is heating up. They've had 220 actions in Nigeria alone. One of those actions, a round of applause for Nigeria, guys. Incredible effort for an incredible country. We're pleased to meet Foluke Michael. We first met in Bonn, Germany, the winner of the UNSG Action Award.
I'm so happy to be here today. One of the promises we made to UNSDG Award in Germany in March was we're going to create a movement, we're going to change the world. Our action started on Saturday on the 22 on campus where we have over 8,000 students in Covenant University. We are gathering students from primary school, from secondary school, from tertiary institutions to create change movement. What are we working on? We're working on goal number 3, health. How we can go kick against drug abuse, not only in Nigeria but globally. We're doing this through creative and innovation through art, and it's called CCB Art for SDG Solution. Our solution has been developed to actually work for every SDG from 1 to 17. Right now we're taking action in Nigeria. A movie was produced through our SDG action. It's called Trapped. People are gathered all over, in 500, in 100, watching our movie on how our innovation is actually changing the world in health sector, also in corruption. The strongest impediment to achieving SDGs, not only in Nigeria, but all over the world. We're taking action. Say no to corruption, using our creativity, knock down corruption, and of course, open a new world where me and you can actually live and have a world that is livable, prosperous, peaceful, just, and healthy. Thank you so very much.
Welcome to the United Nations General Assembly. We gather here to confront global challenges in a spirit of common cause. Climate change, inequality, hunger, conflict, and extreme poverty affect millions of people every day. But we have a response, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It's time to fully implement it. Everyone can help to advance peace, prosperity, and human rights, and together, let's build a better world for all. The United Nations counts on you.
Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, let's remind you that in September 2000, the United Nations committed world leaders to a declaration known as the Millennium Development Goals (MDGs), with measurable targets and clear deadlines for improving the world's poorest people by 2015. Today, however, that has clearly been superseded by a post-development agenda known as the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. This new set of goals was adopted at the 70th session of the United Nations Summit in New York in 2015 as part of efforts to consolidate and, of course, address the unfinished business of the Millennium Development Goals. The SDGs target 17 areas that build on past achievements. They are broader, deeper, and far more ambitious in scope when compared with the 8 MDGs. The goals and targets will stimulate action from the United Nations member countries over the next 15 years in what is now known as the 2030 Agenda. The core objectives of the 17 SDGs are to end poverty and hunger, protect the planet from degradation, foster peace, realize human rights while trying to balance the 3 dimensions of development, that is economic, social, and environmental.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
I am Guillaume Delalande from the OECD. You're watching Agenda 2030.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
And that's our package for the week. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda2030TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda2030TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda2030TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda2030 and hashtag Agenda2030TV. Thank you very much for being part of the program this week. We will see you again next week. Until then, bye.